one is The Magic Flute, Mozart. Now, this was planned originally as a spectacular fairy play with music, and is important historically as being the first great masterpiece of music that was planned especially for the masses, or let's call them the schmoolians, and not for, as before, a restricted aristocracy, which we shall call the Pumpstocks. The original plot was suggested by an Oriental fairy play called the Shinistan by a fellow called Wieland. Now, Mozart and his writers, Emanuel Johann Schickenader, I mean it, and Carl Ludwig Giesecke were very keen Freemasons. Well, in those days, the Pumpstocks were dead against Freemasonry, as was particularly the arch-Pumpstock, the Pope. So at an early stage, they changed the plot from sheer fairy story by adding a lot of Masonic symbolism and ritual, the episodes for which they got out of an edifying novel, Set Boss, by the Abbé Terrasson, very much admired in Masonic circles. Well, now, since the Freemasons are a secret order not open to most schmoolians, and certainly not to women, all I can glean is that the three reiterated chords at the beginning of the overture represent the knocking on the lodge door. That's it. And Sarastro represents Zoroaster, that great chap from Egypt where Masonry is supposed to come from. Monostatus, the hideous blackamoor, represents the Orthodox Church or Jesuits. The Trials of Tamino... The Trials of Tamino and Pamina are copies of ceremonials used in Masonry, and it all has very deep meaning, except the rest of us haven't a clue what it is. In fact, what they were doing was a subliminal sell for Freemasonry. The Pope was furious. He forbade Catholics to go and see it. But since it was so subliminal, and on the face of it was a fairy story, he had a frightful time putting his finger on exactly what was wrong with it. Added to all this, Emanuel Johann Schickenader was a very celebrated comic of his time and loved to be in the limelight and strut his stuff, so he persuaded Mozart to let him write in a special comedy part for himself, Papageno. So in common with projects that start in one direction for one reason and suddenly switch directions in midstream for various other reasons, one lot of people look upon the Magic Flute as a work of tremendous depth and significance. For instance, Bernard Shaw, who said, "The only music yet written fit for the mouth of God." And another lot see it as, to quote another critic, an absurd and inconsequential farrago of sheer fantastic nonsense. Rather like the variety of opinions people have about this opera house, isn't it? Well, this is what happens. Prince Tamino rushes in, pursued by a huge serpent. He sings some help, help, or I die music, and faints. 3 veiled ladies with spears appear and kill the serpent. These are the ladies of the Queen of the Night. They sing how pure and virtuous they are, and then they catch sight of Tamino all fainted away there, and they fall in love with him and get in a frightful fight over it. Each one wants to stay while the other two go and tell the Queen. Well, the whole thing gets to an impasse and they go. But you see, the thing is, they're not pure and virtuous at all. They're rat bags. Well, Tamino comes to, and he hears somebody playing a penny whistle. And most extraordinary creature comes in. Oh, this is a real weirdo. And he sings, "Now tell me, did you ever see a fellow quite as queer as me?" Well, frankly, no, because he's half a man and half a bird. Really? Not that kind of a bird, this kind. And he has a cage of real birds. He says he is Papageno, the Queen of the Night's official bird catcher. But what he would prefer is not this kind of a bird, but the other kind. He also said that it was he who killed this serpent by strangling it, which brings the lady ratbags on, who padlock his mouth up to stop him from telling so many whoppers. Now he can't speak at all. And they give Tamino a portrait of the Queen of the Night's daughter, Pamina, with which he promptly falls in love and has a big sing about it. Well, the ratbags tell him that she's been stolen by an evil sorcerer, Sarastro, and he has to go and rescue her. When on, there's lots of thunder and so forth, and on comes the Queen of the Night herself. She says she is the Queen of highest heaven, and that if he will go and rescue Pamina, he can have her. This is driven home by a coloratura aria of the kind that can only be sung successfully by people who can sing so high they can only be heard by dogs. Otherwise, the whole thing can be completely shattering. It goes like this. That high F can really take the paint off the wall sometimes. And then she goes. Well, then Papageno comes back, and he's still all padlocked up, and he wants to get unhitched, so he goes... And Tamino said, well, I don't know how to take it off, old boy. And in come the lady ratbags again. They say, don't tell any more lies in the future, and they unpadlock him. Well, then they give Tamino a magic gold flute, which will keep him out of danger on his quest. I can see how that can work, can't you? I mean, playing the flute for the first time, probably danger, and everybody else would be wise to keep out of earshot. Papageno is told he must go with him, and he is given a chime of magic bells, which when he klingles them will make everybody dance and laugh, which will protect him. A trio of genii will accompany them and show them the way, so off they go, chiming and tootling. The next scene is in a huge Egyptian room, where a servant of Sarastro, Monostatus, a hideous-looking blackamoor, is dragging on Pamina. She thinks she's about to suffer a fate worse than death, which she is. So she faints. But just in the nick of time, Papageno sticks his head around the door. He and Monostatus see one another, and they're both so weird they terrify each other to death. And they go, he is the devil, certainly. He is the devil, certainly. Have mercy, he's come for me, he's come for me. And then they go, hoo, 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 and make terrible faces at each other. and they rush out in opposite directions, simply scared stiff. Well, then, in a second, Papageno comes back, and he tells Pamina they have come to rescue her, and Tamino has fallen in love with her portrait. It's perfectly obvious that Pamina's falling right back in love with Tamino even without a portrait, which makes Papageno feel a little bit sorry for himself. He says, damn it all, nobody ever falls in love with me. If they don't soon... Oh, by the way, he's all covered with feathers. I forgot to tell you that. He said, if they don't fall in love with me soon, I'm going to pluck out all my feathers and die. So Pamina has a little cheer-up sing with him. Well, next, Tamino and the three genie guides are in a grove where there are three temples, the Temple of Reason, the Temple of Nature, and in the center, the Temple of Wisdom. He tries to go into the left-hand temple, and a voice says, stand back! He tries the right-hand one, the same thing. Then he goes into the Temple of Wisdom in the middle, and the priest comes out and says, what do you want? He says, I've come by right of love and truth to rescue Pamina. No, you haven't, said the priest. It was lies and hatred sent you. Okay, if you want to put it like that, says Tamino. Hatred for a cruel deed. Rotten Sarastro kidnapping Pamina from her loving mother. Is that what she told you, said the priest? Women. Ah! Well, I can tell you something, you've got it all ass backwards. Well, he said, Sarastro did steal her, didn't he? Yes, said the priest. Well, why? Oh, I can't tell you that yet, says the priest. But when can you tell me, says Tamino. Oh, he says, it could be soon, but then again, it could be never. It all depends. All depends on what, says Tamino. Oh, I can't tell you that either, said the priest. And goes in and slams the door. Well, Tamino says, I don't get it. But then he hears the priest inside singing, Pamina, Pamina is okay. Thank heavens for that, he says, and starts playing his flute, and all the animals come to listen to him. He's got pretty good in a short time. Probably had a natural embouchure. Well, then he hears Papageno tootling in the distance and rushes off to find him, just as Pamina and Papageno appear around the opposite corner. And they run into Monostatus, who calls up some slaves to chain them up. But Papageno rings his magic chimes. They all come over discotheque and go sort of hopping about, and they go themselves off. Oh, it's cool, man. Well, then there's a sort of choir and a fanfare and thing announcing Sarastro. Papageno's terrified because, being half a bird, he's certain that Sarastro is going to pluck, roast, and eat him. But Sarastro comes in, and guess what? He's not a wicked sorcerer at all. He's the high priest of Isis and Osiris. He's terrific, very noble. Well, Pamina throws herself at his feet and confesses she tried to escape because Monostatus kept making passes at her. Sarastro tells her not to worry. In due course, she'll be free, but not yet. Pamina said, well, that's all very fine, but Mother wants me home. She's lonely and she loves me. Sarastro knows that Mother is the top rat bag, but he's far too kind to tell Pamina. He says, you'll be all right as soon as you get a good man to take care of you. He says, women by themselves are absolutely hopeless. Obviously not women's lib. Well, then Monostatus comes on dragging Tamino. Well, Tamino and Pamina rush into one another's arms in a passionate embrace. They've never met before. Look at them, Monostatus said. They are shameless. Sarastro said, you're a fine one to talk, and orders him to get 25 lashes for making passes at Pamina and being a dirty old man. Then Tamino and Papageno have veils slung over them, and they're taken into the temple to be initiated, where they have to go through various ordeals. Then the priests and the populace sing, "Good on you, Sarastro," and "Up the buffs, virtue and justice," and that's the end of Act 1. Well, Act 2 is outside the temple again, and Sarastro tells the assembled company that Tamino is worthy to become an initiate, after which, if he survives these ordeals, the gods have decreed he shall wed Pamina. He tells them he had to take her away from her mother, who's a power-mad old witch, a rampant women's libber, who's trying to poach on his preserves. In fact, she's a regular Germaine Greer. However she managed to produce a gorgeous creature like Pamina, he says, heaven only knows. Then he sings, "O Isis and Osiris." Now, this is a sort of prayer saying that he hopes that they will survive the ordeals, but if they don't and wind up dead in the process, he hopes they'll go to heaven. It's a very noble aria.
Isis and Osiris, hear us, for these that seek your light we pray. In all the perils, grant them patience and lead them safe in wisdom's way, and lead them safe wisdom's way.
It's very noble, but very low. Now, Tamino is all set to do these ordeals, but Papageno isn't. He says, "Wisdom and uplift, yuck." He said, "I'd rather eat, drink, sleep, and have a little wife." The priest comes in and says, "You won't get anything unless you do the ordeals, but if you do, the gods have a little burl gird. Gird burl. Have a little chick picked out for you." Well, he says, if I wind up dead with these ordeals, what's the good of a wife? I might as well be a bachelor. But anyway, after grumbling a bit, he agrees. The first ordeal is that they must not speak to women. Immediately, the Queen's 3 rat bags come in and try and make them. They say, "Oh, boys, you have certainly made a boo-boo here, because the Queen is the good guy, Sarastro's the bad guy, and you've got yourself in a terrible spot, and you'll wind up dead for sure." Papageno says, "What is that right?" Tamino says, "Shut up." "So we might be barking up the wrong tree." Tamino says, "Shut up, will you?" "Yes," says Papageno, "but she's a queen, and these 3 are telling us..." "Listen," says Tamino, "these are 3 dumb dames, and the Queen's another one, so for the last time, we'll can it." Poor Papageno, he's such a dingaling. Well, luckily the priests come in and tell the ladies, "Now, listen, you 3 girls, you scram." And they lead the boys away. Poor Papageno's a nervous wreck. Well, now, in the next scene, Pamina is asleep in the garden, and here comes Monostatus again. And he gets all revved up to have another pounce, when the Queen of the Night appears and says, "Stand back!" This wakes Pamina up, who says, "Ye gods." "Oh, hello, Mother." And Monostatus goes and hides. Pamina tells her mother that Tamino has joined the initiates, and a typical mother and daughter conversation ensues. "Oh," says the Queen, "if he's joined Sarastro's gang, then my daughter will be lost to me forever." "Oh, Mother, stop carrying on," says Pamina. "All right, I'll come home with you." "Oh, it's just terrible, says the Queen. Your father left Sarastro the sevenfold shield of the sun when he died, and he never left me a nickel. I had to bring you up on a shoestring, working my fingers to the bone, while Sarastro got everything. Men, male, chauvinist, pigs. Well, when she's got Pamina sufficiently upset, she gives her a dagger and says, now, dear, you go and kill Sarastro for mother. And get back the sevenfold shield of the sun. If you don't, she says, I'll disown you. And she does a very, very disagreeable aria. It would sound much more disagreeable if I could sing it in the right octave, but never mind. I'll have revenge, no longer can I bear it. Hell, have no torture. Hell, have no torture. I have not endured. Well, then she works herself up into an absolutely ear-splitting tantrum. When that's sung, it's a real lulu. But then off she goes. Well, poor Pamina, she doesn't want to kill Sarastro, but then there's poor mother who brought her up all alone, slaving over a hot stove. Oh, Pamina, she's a very nice girl, you know. And then to top it all, out comes Monostasis and said, I heard that murder plot, and I shall tell Sarastro, which will be the end of you and your mother, unless you submit to me. She says, never. Then die, he says, and he's about to kill her, when va-voom, Sarastro appears, and he said, look, I've told you once, and I don't want to tell you again. Now knock it off. All right, says Monastatus. If I can't have the girl, I'll go after the mother. Poor mother, that fate worse than death, wails Pamina. You know, she's not really bad. She's just so worried about me that her nerves are all shot. You know, it just is that she's not herself anymore. So Sarastro sings her a soothing aria. One of those low ones. I won't try it again. And it says, we know no thought of vengeance within these hallowed halls, where love leads back to duty, whoe'er from duty falls. In other words, if Mum could get back in the hallowed halls, if she'd just pull herself together and stop behaving like a banshee. But I think Sarastro knows that she's never going to do it. Well, next, Tamino and Papageno are led in by the priests. Papageno is absolutely miserable. He's whinging away, and he says, oh, I've got nothing to eat. They won't give me anything to drink, and there's no women, and I'm miserable. I can't even get a glass of water. All of a sudden, a hideous old crone turns up and gives him a glass of water. She says she's 18, and she's his sweetheart. And she says, you gotta be kidding. Then there's a clap of thunder and she vanishes. You see, he's been talking to a woman. It's funny, he wasn't struck dead by lightning. Possibly over a certain age it doesn't count, or possibly he gets extra chances because he's such a nignog, I don't know. Anyway, the genie come back and bring in a table laden with food and wine. And they give Tamino back his magic flute and Papageno his bells. And Papageno sits down and starts to have a lovely stuff, you know, with gorgeous food, while Tamino plays the flute. Well, Pamina hears this and she comes in, and Tamino won't speak to her. So she asks Papageno what's up. He won't speak either for once. He can't, his mouth is too full. And so Pamina sings a very beautiful aria to the effect that Tamino no longer loves her and she might as well die. And she goes up. Well, then there's a fanfare calling the boys out to Sarastro. What, says Papageno, here they starve me to death, and the first time I get a chance at this lovely food, they try to drag me away. He said no, not even if Sarastro sends his lions to fetch me. And all of a sudden, the lions turn up. Papageno's terrified, so Tamino soothes them by tootling on the flute and drags Papageno away from the food, and out they go. Papageno still is certain that Sarastro is going to make him into a roast dinner. In the next scene, they're all in a vault beneath the temple. Pamina comes in, and Tamino waves her away. He's got this far with this darned ordeal, and he's going to get through it or bust. But Sarastro tells them they can't say goodbye to each other, because if Tamino does not get through these ordeals and winds up dead, it could be goodbye forever. So they do. Well, then, the next scene is in a great big hall with a lot of doors. Papageno is running around looking for Tamino. And every time he goes up to a door, somebody says, "Stand back," and there's a flash of lightning. Then a priest comes in and says, "You know, it would serve you right if you never got out of here. But the gods are letting you off becoming an initiate. You're just too much of a dum-dum." He says, "Do you want anything?" And Papageno says, "Well, could fancy a nice glass of wine." He's given it. And the priest says, "Anything else?" He says, "No." And the priest goes out. Well, Papageno says, "Damn it all, I should have asked him for a wife." And bingo, the ancient crone comes back. She said, "You'll either have me for a wife, and if you won't, you'll get stuck in here forever." "Oh, Lord," said Papageno, "how do I get mixed up in these things?" "Oh, well, I suppose, okay." And all of a sudden, she changes into a beautiful little chick, Papagena. And I do mean a chick. She's all covered with feathers, too. Well, then the priest comes in and says, "You can look, but you can't touch. You're not good enough for her yet." Papageno says, "Before I'll let her go, the earth can swallow me up." There's a clap of thunder, Papageno disappears, and guess what? The earth starts swallowing him up. Poor little fellow. I mean, you know, he does have a rotten time, doesn't he? Well, next, the genies are singing about how everything is going to be hunky-dory when Pamina comes in brandishing Mum's dagger. What with rotten Monostatus making passes at her, and rotten Tamino who won't talk to her, and rotten Mum with her murder plot, she's gone mad. She's going to kill herself. The genie tell her, cool it and take her off. Well, next, two men in armour are standing each side of this door, out of which Tamino is being led. Goodness knows who they are. Never seen them before. They sing a lot about mystic rites, the purge of fire and water, truth, wisdom, and a whole lot of stuff I can't understand. Come to think of it, they're probably 33rd degree Masons. Well, then Pamina comes in, and she's told that she and Tamino can now talk to each other. Well, you'd think that'd be the end of it, wouldn't you? Not on your Nelly. Now, both of them have to go through ordeals. Pamina says, "Play your magic flute, it will protect us. It was carved by my father from the branch he tore off the sacred mystic tree." Well, then, the two of them go through this door and are seen to pass through fire. Then they go through another door and are seen to pass through water. Tamino tootling away all the time. He's become a veritable Neville Amardio by now. And they go into the temple. They have made it. Now, back to Papageno. He's looking for Papagena. And he says if he can't find her, he's going to hang himself. Then he thinks, no, if I can find just any girl, I'll put off hanging till tomorrow. He says, won't anybody have me? Anyone at all? Anyone in the audience? Nobody answers. Right, he says, I'm hanging myself. Poor little chap. the genies enter, and they say, "Oh, come off it, Papageno." He says, "No." Everybody shuts me up, they give me things, and then they snatch them away again. Tamino got initiated, and Pamina, and left me all alone. I did my best. Can I help it if I'm stupid? Nobody loves me, and my feelings are hurt. "Ah, come on," they said, "be a good boy. Clingle your chimes." So he does, and there is Papageno. Oh, joy, oh, rapture. And they sing a perfectly ridiculous song about how they're going to build a nest and have a lot of little birds. There's a bit in it goes like this. Papageno, 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 Papageno. Sounds like, doesn't it? Perhaps he's going to lay eggs. No wonder he has such a terrible time getting a girlfriend. Well, next we are in front of the temple again, and it's dark, and who should come skulking on but Monostatus, the 3 lady rat bags, and the Queen of the Night. She's going to lure out Pamina and give her to Monostatus, who in turn is going to help the Queen do in Sarastro and company. There's mother love for you. But Sarastro catches them and he strikes them with lightning, and that lot has had it. Then the sun comes out, and Sarastro, the lovers, the priests, and the populace sing, "Thank you to Isis and Osiris for error being vanquished, truth winning out, nature, reason, and wisdom have prevailed. Tamino has got through all the ordeals with his magic instrument and will..." and will doubtless wind up first flute in the Temple Symphony Orchestra.